buildings.
Right.
Who did it? With whose airplanes? We have a report there may have been some hijackings, but we don't know for sure. All we know is it was a deliberate attack. 2 different airplanes hit 2 different World Trade Center towers, approximately 18 minutes apart. The first one came without warning. After the first one, authorities ordered an evacuation of the second tower, as well as the one that was hit, obviously. But only 18 minutes later, the second plane came in. And not to sound like a worrywart, but it takes more than 18 minutes to evacuate a building of that size. These things are gigantic.
Mark, I'm probably going to...
Bob Pisani is on the phone. Bob?
Good morning, Mark.
I'm sorry, he's where? Oh, he's on the floor of the big board.
Yes, I am. I'm down here at the big board, Mark. I was coming down the West Side Highway when the first explosion occurred, and we looked up, and my driver said, "What is that?" And there was a gigantic fireball, debris raining down, and we got off. The police were not allowing anybody immediately underneath the building, which turned out to be fairly fortunate because, as you noted, 18 minutes later, the second explosion occurred. That's when it got very chaotic. There is a lot of debris on the ground, a lot of ash that's around. I came over here to the building, Mark, and the people here are a bit shell-shocked, but Dick Grasso, the head of the New York Stock Exchange, just got off of the loudspeaker system here saying that the opening would be delayed. We don't know exactly. I've talked to some officials. We do not know exactly when the NYSE will open, but there is going to be a delayed open. They will give a 10-minute notice prior to the opening, Mark.
They're in an interesting position, Bob, a conundrum of sorts. On the one hand, great damage has been done to buildings in which many people who work on Wall Street work, and we have no idea at this stage how many of them may have been hurt or perhaps even lost their lives. On that score, one would think that the New York Stock Exchange would decide not to trade today. On the other hand, on the other part of that equation is the New York Stock Exchange officials may well feel that to not trade today would be to admit that the terrorists, if terrorists they be, have won a round, and perhaps they don't want to do that. So it would not be an easy decision either way. So I suppose the suspension or the postponement is probably the best thing to do at the moment.
That's right, Mark. And I spoke to the head of security here as I was coming in the building and asked him what his plans were. And at that time, this was 15 minutes ago, their plan was to try to keep as many people as possible inside the building, immediately in here, and asking people standing at the door not to go out on the street at this point. So the NYSE is planning a delayed opening at this point, although we don't know exactly when.
All right, both Maria Bartiromo and John Bussey are near phones and have been down in the area and gathering information. So I'm going to go first to Maria and see what she can add, and then we'll go to John, and we'll just do kind of do it that way. Maria?
Thanks, Mark. Well, I was standing outside watching the event, and it truly was like a movie. The plane going right into the second tower. There is debris which is continuing to fall in the area, and basically people are just standing around watching this extraordinary happening.
Maria, the size of the second airplane, we can see it on videotape, but because it's almost the same color as the building, a little difficult to see the size. Did it appear to you to be of a commercial airliner size or smaller?
It looked to be smaller than commercial. I'm not sure what, I mean, it happened so quickly, so I can't tell you exactly how large it was, but it definitely looked to be smaller than a commercial airliner.
Okay. John Bussey, have you anything to add at this point?
Yeah, Mark, those flames on the North Tower are getting yet more intense. They are about half the building wide where the hole is. I can see them. Presumably, they're also behind the remaining piece of wall in the building.
This is the tower that was hit first, John?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Go ahead.
So those flames are getting more and more intense, so they now have a massive fire on their hands as well. I'm across the street underneath that tower in the World Financial Center, just across West Street, for those who know New York. We're in buildings that Amex, Merrill Lynch, Oppenheimer use as offices and headquarters, and they've been evacuating these buildings as well, though they have been basically undamaged by these explosions. When the explosion happened, I was outside, and the debris moved south. The explosion somehow seemed to blow material southward down the island of Manhattan.
And some of that material, John, I noticed was sort of research and papers from Cantor Fitzgerald coming out of... Now, I know that Cantor Fitzgerald...
Right. John and Maria, I'm going to interrupt you for just a moment. President Bush about to make a statement.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a difficult moment for America. I, unfortunately, will be going back to Washington after my remarks. Secretary of Rod Page and Lieutenant Governor will take the podium and discuss education. I do want to thank the folks here at Booker Elementary School for their hospitality. Today, we've had a national tragedy. 2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country. I have spoken to the Vice President, to the Governor of New York, to the Director of the FBI, and have ordered that the full resources of the federal government go to help the victims and their families and to conduct a full-scale investigation to hunt down and to find those folks who committed this act. Terrorism against our nation will not stand. And now, if you join me in a moment of silence. May God bless the victims, their families, and America. Thank you very much.
All right, President Bush stating what he knows. Apparent terrorist attack is what the president said. It's certainly, again, we don't want to say, we don't want to get too far ahead, but we saw the second attack live on television, unfortunately, and apparent terrorist attack certainly seems to be a fair assessment.
Mark, New York Television is quoting police who say that the World Trade Center planes were hijacked from Boston. So that is the latest detail that we have. Of course, the president just saying that he's going to hunt down and find those folks who committed those acts that the United States will not tolerate.
All right, let's get back out to the field. I had to interrupt Maria and John Bussey earlier because of the president. And let's return to John Bussey. I believe you were in the middle of telling us something when that happened.
Yes, the buildings across the street from the World Trade Center, which the Wall Street Journal is also housed, has Oppenheimer, American Express, Merrill Lynch, several brokerages use them as offices. These are being evacuated, and they're undamaged from what I can see.
You want me to go outside?
I'm looking up at the building, and there's still debris raining down. There are fire trucks, dozens and dozens, as you would imagine, but the fire fighters are having a hard time getting into the building, partly because there is so much debris that's coming down. As Maria noted, papers were blasted south out of the building, and I'm now looking out over West Street onto Liberty Street, which is right in front of the second building that was hit, the World Trade Center building that was hit. And it is virtually covered with papers. The parking lot across the street, there are cars on fire, chunks of metal everywhere. It just, it looks like you would imagine. So these fires continue to flame. Apparently, the fighters are just getting up there because these things are basically out of control and getting much, much worse.
Yeah, well, that's right, John. And a good point to make here is that people, of course, are familiar with the movie The Towering Inferno, and certainly in this case, there's no fire apparatus can reach that high. The only way to fight this fire is to go into the building and fight it from within. And you can see just looking at it that must be an extremely perilous undertaking.
Mark, I hate to make reference to another movie at a time like this, but sometimes life does imitate art. When I was standing outside on the other side of the World Financial Center, and this first explosion occurred, I heard what sounded like jet engines coming in low. We're not too far from a National Guard center. Sometimes these planes come down the Hudson and buzz the Statue of Liberty a bit. I thought that's what it was until this massive explosion, which at first sounded like a sonic boom. Then I looked up, and there was debris raining down out of the sky like scenes, unfortunately, from the movie Armageddon, where, asteroids hit New York City and pieces of buildings get blown out. It was in fact, just that dramatic as these chunks of the building fell down onto the street.
Yeah, it is incredibly dramatic. Now, from where you stand, John, and again, I just want to get back to very quickly to my point of the fact that the firemen have to fight these fires from inside the building.